ESPN's Adam Schefter has revealed that there is about to be a new free agent quarterback on the market, and this has New York Jets fans split, as some fans want to hang on to Aaron Rodgers for next season, and some people want to see a new quarterback in the New York Jets locker room, and we got to break it down. So what's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Digest. Before we hop into the video today, only 19.8% of viewers are subscribed, so if you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. It only takes a second. It helps me out a ton, and it helps out my co-host Chris a ton as well. But hopping into our report here from Bleacher Report, it appears very likely that the Kirk Cousins era with the Atlanta Falcons will be a one-and-done affair after he was benched in favor of rookie Michael Penix Jr. late in the 2024 season. We also have Adam Schefter's take on this. He said, this is a situation that looks an awful lot like what Denver and Russell Wilson went through last offseason before Denver decided ultimately to move on from him when they said it wouldn't necessarily do that. So, Kirk Cousins, you know who he is, drafted in the day 3 by the Washington Redskins. Then he went over to the Minnesota Vikings where he had a lot of success. But as he was getting older, he tore his Achilles just like Aaron Rodgers. But then he was a free agent after the Achilles tear and signed a massive deal with the Atlanta Falcons where he's getting paid a ton of money guaranteed. So if they cut him, they're going to be taking on a ton of salary. Talking about how this is similar to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson. The way Russell Wilson worked, actually, Adam Schefter can break this down for us better than I will. So the Broncos released Russell Wilson. Wilson wound up signing a one-year deal with a low salary in Pittsburgh, and that's how I think people across the league believe the situation will unfold with the Falcons releasing Kirk Cousins right around the start of the league year. So the way the guaranteed contracts work, even if you cut the guy, they still have to pay him. So the Denver Broncos cut Russell Wilson, and then Russell Wilson signed a veteran minimum deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers had to pay the veteran minimum deal, and that $5 million and change came off of the Denver Broncos books. So the player, after he gets cut, he wants to sign a low contract because he's going to be paid the money anyway, and he wants to help out the team that signs him. Also, if it's a player who isn't really viewed very favorably in the open market, as players who get cut usually aren't highly coveted players. So they want to sign a lower contract because that's going to drive up their market and give themselves more options of teams to pick in free agency. So Kirk Cousins is going to do something very similar to Russell Wilson. Wherever he goes next, he's going to sign to a most likely veterans minimum deal to cut that new team some slack. And while he's going to make the Falcons pay him. The Falcons agreed to pay him. He's going to make them pay him. The problem I have with Kirk Cousins is, how are we even sure that this guy is an upgrade off of Aaron Rodgers? Because if we take a look at his stats for this season with the Atlanta Falcons, he played in 14 games before being benched. He had a 67% completion percentage, which is respectable. 3,500 yards in 14 games is pretty good. 18 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. Nothing crazy touchdown-wise. The ratio is pretty close to 500 there, pretty close to even. So not especially placing his targets very well. The decision-making not ideal, of course. So Aaron Rodgers, I know he only won 5 games, but if you look at his stats were a lot better than a 5-game winning quarterback with 63% completion percentage, a little bit lower than Kirk Cousins. He, of course, played in more games, threw a lot more touchdowns, and actually threw less interceptions, even though he played 3 more games. So, I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers. You have to assume he's not going to throw a lot of interceptions. That's not how you win 4 MVPs. That's not how you win the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers has done this in the past. So, talking about how, as I absolutely fumble here, there's the picture I'm looking for. Aaron Rodgers versus Kirk Cousins. If we're going to upgrade if we're going to change from Aaron Rodgers, it has to be to a quarterback who's a guaranteed upgrade. And I would like people in the comments to, if you feel like Kirk Cousins is a guaranteed upgrade, please tell me why, because I cannot figure out why he would be a guaranteed upgrade. The way that I see this to be working would be if they brought in Kirk Cousins, all it would do is make Aaron Rodgers mad. And that would be, honestly, the first decision for the New York Jets, or the next decision that they have, is what they're going to do with Aaron Rodgers. So they got to pay him. The question is, how much do you pay him, and how are you going to spread out the money? Depending on when they cut him, they are going to be able to designate the release. If they cut him, they can designate it as a post-June 1st release, which can spread out the money that they're going to have to pay him, like spread out the years that they're going to have to pay him. So that's an option. Or they can cut him as a pre-June 1st cut and get the money off the books faster. But Aaron Rodgers has said he's open to a pay cut. And here on Jets Digest, me and Chris truly believe that the best way going forwards for the quarterback situation in New York is to get Aaron Rodgers on a pay cut and bring him back alongside Devontae Adams. Kirk Cousins doesn't have the ceiling that Aaron Rodgers could potentially have coming off of getting a year removed from his Achilles injury. His ceiling could be much higher than it was this year. Of course, he didn't play very well this year. The stats, Aaron Rodgers' stats look better than he played. The stats look good. Stats-wise, he was a top 5 quarterback. But when you're a Hall of Fame quarterback, I don't care what the stats say. The only stat that matters is wins. You got to win more than 5 games. Yes, the kicker missed kicks. Get him closer. If Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, one of those guys, they lose on a missed field goal, they're all going to say the same thing. They're going to say, we should have gotten the guy closer. That's what they all say. Aaron Rodgers doesn't say that because the leadership skills are, I guess I'll go with suspect, but we know if you're paying attention to what he's saying, they're worse than suspect. However, he is the best option that the New York Jets have going forwards. Of course, he's owed a ton of money, so why would we pay Aaron Rodgers and then pay Kirk Cousins on top of that? Also, like I said before, they're both aging quarterbacks. They both recently had torn Achilleses. These guys are such similar players. The only difference is before they got injured, Aaron Rodgers was better than Kirk Cousins. So why would we then pivot right now? Why would we pivot from Aaron Rodgers to Kirk Cousins? It doesn't make sense to me. Of course, Kirk Cousins is an option, and he becomes a significantly more realistic option if Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey decide that they don't want Aaron Rodgers back. Then Kirk Cousins would enter the realm of possibilities. But after doing all this with Aaron Rodgers, does anyone really think the New York Jets would go out and get another aging quarterback, another guy with injuries in his history? If Aaron Rodgers isn't brought back, it's most likely because the New York Jets would be entering a rebuild, and Kirk Cousins, of course, does not fit a rebuild. So if Aaron Rodgers does come back, the Jets are going to compete, and Kirk Cousins is off the table. If Aaron Rodgers does not come back, the New York Jets are going to tank, and Kirk Cousins is off the table. Please, in the comments, please, I know I'm asking for a lot of comments right now, but if you do want to see Kirk Cousins, please explain to me why, because to me, he doesn't make enough sense for the New York Jets. I understand he is going to be better next season than he was this season because he was coming off of the torn Achilles, but he doesn't make enough sense to me. The way Aaron Rodgers' contract works and the way Aaron Rodgers played at the end of the season specifically, in the last 6 games, Rodgers played a lot better than he did in the first couple games because he had more time to adjust to the NFL after coming back off that injury. So I really don't think Kirk Cousins makes a ton of sense for the New York Jets. He's a solid quarterback. I'm not going to, be disrespectful or nothing, but Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. That should really be enough. But hey, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new, and as always, go Jets.